Horror Hangout podcast where three bearded film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time. My name is Luke Condo with Kate, and joined by my regular co-hosts, Mr.
Ben Errington.
And Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello.
How's it going? You all right?
Yeah, I am very good, thank you. How are you guys?
Good. It's a bit sniffly today for some reason. I think I'm having an allergic reaction to the film I watched yesterday.
Not this film.
Having some kind of reaction to it.
Yeah.
An allergic reaction to a film. Have you ever had like just an allergic reaction like to a film where you're just like, I really am not enjoying this. I'm swelling up in all the wrong places.
I got really ill towards the end of the last Paranormal Activity. You guys seen the whole series?
Is the last one the ghost dimension? It's got like a skateboarding ghost or something like that.
I don't even remember what it's called now.
Is it really got a skateboarding game?
There's the one where it
like
completely changes and becomes like a kid in an apartment block for a bit. And then there's one more where literally Toby, the big god demon man, he literally turns up at the end. But the last bit is a wacky first person bit. And I can't remember now whether I was getting a bit cold and fluey when we went to see it or whether I was hungover when we went to see it. But I'm never usually I play video games. I've never really got motion sickness in a film before. Yeah. But I genuinely had to leave the room and go to the toilet because I thought I was going to be sick. I was like,
oh, that's weird.
Chunder.
Yeah.
But yeah, at least it wasn't disliking the film. It's fine.
At least you didn't have to go to the toilet for the other end because that's embarrassing. I've had that before when I watched the Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
That's a different type of reaction.
Yeah.
But is this with Rorschach in it?
Yeah, that's it.
With Jackie O'Haley in it, yeah. With big old Rorschach. I don't know what happened, but probably about 10 minutes in, I was like, I definitely need to go to the toilet. And it was pretty much non-stop. So I don't know if that's representative of the film being a shower of shit. Or
Freddie got you right in the guts. Yeah, so
right in the guts.
Horror Hangout community, if you've ever had sickness and or diarrhea, text in.
Is that what's happened? Were you going to say an example of that then, Luke? That you've had an allergic reaction to a film?
No. I mean, sort of Final Destination 3. That's the one on the theme park, right? With the roller coaster and stuff.
That's the roller coaster one, yeah.
Got very drunk and then went to see that, and we sat right in the front row. And I remember the roller coaster moving around on the screen was making me feel really not good. But I didn't throw up, held it all in. I definitely wanted to leave the cinema though.
Persevered.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's impressive. I'm impressed.
Thanks.
Mentioning Nightmare on Elm Street, I'm going to mention a brief Nightmare on Elm Street themed discussion I had over the weekend because it was quite amusing for me. So my 6-year-old nephew somehow knows who Freddy Krueger is, or he's seen him in some capacity. I don't know if it's on YouTube or
his
what.
Dreams.
Yeah.
It's very
first thing I said, were you awake when this happened? And he was like, basically, he asked me to explain Freddy Krueger to him. So in my best uncle way, without trying to scar him for life because he's 6 years old, I explained who Freddy Krueger is, his origins, and what he does. And while I was telling him, I was trying to leave out all the really scary details because I didn't want him to A, get scared, B, be freaked out, or C, think Freddy was going to come for him. But while I was telling him,
it's okay to say bitch all the time. You don't want him to go away thinking that. I call
start
people
singing
a bitch
the song.
When I was telling, we did Google the song and have a little listen on YouTube as well, just so he, if he heard it, he knew to run. But I sort of explained, he was a bad man. He did some bad things. Obviously, all fictional. Making sure
you made sure you put that in there. It's a bad man.
Telling him it's fictional. And my mum must have overheard while I was telling. So she comes over and starts trying to chime in with a few different details. And when I said, he was a bad man, he did some bad things, my mum literally said, and he kills kids. And I was just like, why is that the detail that you're deciding to bring to the table? You're not helping.
How did he take it?
He just had a look on his face where he's just like really quite fascinated, I think. So I think both of my nephews are getting they've heard of like Pennywise and now Freddy Krueger through what else? I'm not sure how they've heard it. They both play Fortnite. Are there like horror characters in that?
Yeah, probably through games. I bet there's a Freddy Krueger skin.
And they've played not through my choice, but they've played Mortal Kombat, so they've obviously seen
Freddy's in that. he's in.
Yeah.
That might be it, actually. You know what? That might be it. So they've seen some horror, but they're getting to the age where they're like, oh, horror movies. Can we watch horror movies? And my 13-year-old sister, no, she's 14 now, is kind of like starting to watch horror movies as well. So we'll keep them on the straight and narrow. We'll make sure they become horror fans. Don't want
It's
them.
interesting because you kind of want to. I mean, my experience was I got kind of traumatized as a kid from watching scary movies, but I think that made me a horror movie fan. So you kind of want to push them a little bit, but not over the edge, where they're never gonna sleep or whatever.
It's okay for you though, Ben, because it's your nephew, so he doesn't live at your house. So if you have nightmares, it's not going to be you that has to deal with it.
My daughter, who's obviously older, she's 11 years old, but she is definitely at the stage where she's not ready for horror because she gets quite scared.
Did you say your daughter was 14? I think you said your daughter's a different age every time.
Sister, I said. I think I said that anyway. My sister's 14. My daughter's 11, but yeah, she recently got scared at. I'm just outing her on a podcast now, but she got scared of Jurassic Park, Camp Cretaceous, like the animated show.
Okay, yeah.
She was a bit scared. She said, "Need to turn this off." We also
dinosaurs are real though, so
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we also watched Monster Squad probably about a year ago, and she was not a fan. As soon as the werewolf turned up, she was like, "That's enough. It's bedtime."
You gotta be careful with these things. I still remember an occasion when a friend of mine and I we were looking after his younger cousins. So we were like mid to late teens, and they were like maybe pushing 10, like 9, 10, something like that. The sister had gone to bed, she was slightly younger, and the little boy was like, "Oh, I'm going to stay up and watch it." We watched Starship Troopers. And a couple of weeks later, his aunt and uncle were called into the school when he'd been drawing like people being torn apart by like big arachnid monsters. Yeah, in like army men being torn apart by big bugs. And like, yeah, we think he's quite. No, it's all right. He's just been shown terrible films by awful relatives.
If he comes home one day with an origami Le Marchand puzzle box from Hellraiser, pick one. Is doing that thing where you do the
What's your favorite color?
Red.
Red.
Hooks. That's weird.
Open up the little thing. Someone photoshopped just instead of the cube, one of those paper origamis in his hands. You chose orange, we came. All right, Pinhead, settle down. Wasn't that exciting?
Hey, this is an amazing segue. Speaking of Hellraiser and origami, there's going to be a Hellraiser. They're filming the new one at the minute.
I've heard it's going to be beautiful and bloody. I hear that's what they've committed to.
It's also playing at the cinema in a minute. We're going to go watch it on Friday.
Oh,
I guess is it an anniversary sort of time? 35 years old or something like that.
It's I think I did a tweet about it the other day. Is it like 38, 40? It's like it's a big number. You'll turn to dust reading it, but
wow, 80. It came out 80s. Was it 87? 80 something. Yeah, I think Aliens is celebrating one as well because I think that's on at our local cinema next week. So that's got to be 86. So what? 20? No, what? 35. 35 years. Oh God.
Yeah. The guys I'm going with haven't seen Hellraiser before, so I'm not too sure how it's gonna go down. Because I mean, it's a classic, but I mean, does it hold up as a fresh viewing today? I have no idea.
Good question. That was one of the VHS covers that I was severely scared of.
Hellraiser, old Pinhead.
Yeah. Just like have a little look at the VHS cover. Know that I'm never gonna watch it. Well, not as a kid.
Yeah,
no thanks.
Doug Bradley's birthday recently as well. I saw that was on the socials.
Yeah,
celebrating his birthday.
What was it? 80? Was it 80? Have I just absolutely?
Isn't that weird?
He's never 80.
I think he might. I mean, I know Clive Barker's a lot older than because when Clive Barker was big and Hellraiser was out, he looked quite young. Like he looks like quite a handsome late 20s or something. But I remember reading that he was like mid 40s or something like that. He was much older, much further along than we thought. And I think he's in his 80s or something now. What's going on?
I've never seen a picture of him, so he's just a timeless figure.
I've ruined Doug Bradley. He's 67.
Well, after a certain age, it's over the cliff, isn't it? Who knows? It's all.
And I never really know what he looks like because he's always got pins his bloody head. Ellie.
Clive Barker's 68.
Oh.
So he's 70.
So neither of them are 80 then. That's okay.
Hey, the 60. There's an 8 in the.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. That's what I meant.
Close, yeah,
that's what I meant.
68. You're looking at it from a mirror like Candyman. Oh, it's the 8.
Is there any other horror news that we should mention? Any other horror royalty we should offend in any way?
Say they're 80.
I think we're done for that. I don't think we want to do it again. There was a trailer for a new Netflix slasher called "There's Someone Inside Your House," where the killer apparently wears masks that look like his victims, which is interesting.
The person he's about to kill, or the person he's just killed?
The person he's about to kill, I guess. I guess that's what it is. But if it's the person he just killed, that's also kind of weird.
Or the
person he's sneak in doing that. If I see myself in the house, I'm gonna be like, "I'm already here. I'm not tricked."
Yeah. So it's based on a novel, I believe. A high school senior and the rest of her new school's graduating class are being targeted by a mass killer intent on exposing their darkest secrets to the world.
And killing them.
Yeah.
That's pretty worse. Yeah.
I'm going to expose your darkest secrets. Yeah, go on then.
You Google search history. And I'm going to stab you in the face.
In many ways, that makes the darkest secrets seem less traumatic. Oh no, not my darkest secret. Oh, okay, you're going to stab me as well. That like.
Have them all. Have all my dark secrets.
Doesn't seem so bad now.
Yeah.
So this is obviously just a modern horror, modern slasher, sorry, which obviously are getting quite a lot of traction on Netflix this year. I haven't seen it. I didn't watch the trailer, so I don't know whether it's, looks half decent or whether it's another Riverdale. Sorry, Luke, I know you're all right with Riverdale now, aren't you? You've made up with
Riverdale. Are cool now.
Big fan.
So that's that. I also found out. I also read that Eli Roth is bringing a horror anthology series called The Haunted Museum to Discovery Plus this Halloween. Each episode tells. Yeah, I think that's just another.
So is it a documentary series that he's bringing to it about a haunted museum?
Well, so I think each episode tells frightening tales inspired by some of the most terrifying cursed artifacts on display at a haunted museum in Las Vegas. So there's going to be obviously some truth to the items, I guess, but the stories are going to go alongside them.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
So he's going to be Eli sitting in a lovely high-backed armchair at the beginning. And saying,
You like this object, do you? Never guess what actually happened with this object. There we go.
That fact or fiction with the guy from Star Trek.
Yeah.
We made that up. It's false. Never happened.
Oh, great. I believed it. Apart from that, well, there's a couple of images from the new Guillermo del Toro movie, which is called Nightmare Alley, starring Bradley Cooper, Cate Blanchett, and Willem Dafoe. But from reading about it, it doesn't sound so much like a horror, more like a noir thriller, apparently. What was Guillermo del Toro's last movie?
Is it Crimson Peak, maybe?
Was it Crimson Peak? No, it was Shape of Water.
Was that
have we done Crimson Peak?
No,
I don't think so. Maybe.
That's
I have no idea, to be honest.
Very good gothic horror that probably doesn't get as much love as it deserves. Shape of Water was the last one, 2017. Nightmare Alley, and then also he's making Pinocchio.
He did the Troll Hunter stuff, didn't he? Which I think was all the animated stuff on Netflix.
But that's that, really.
How do you feel about another Disney, reimagining of a classic? Then I know you've seen a few of them. I haven't seen any.
Isn't this meant to be more of a horror take on Pinocchio?
Pinocchio. To be fair, Pinocchio's got so many freaky occurrences anyway.
It's got those horrid men that turn boys into donkeys and send them off to work in the mines or kill them. That's no good.
There's loads of mad shit going on in Pinocchio, so let's see a gothic horror version of that. Why not? I don't know is this like the official Disney live action movie,
or is it one of those things that's like it's not a reimagining of the Disney's version of Pinocchio? Is it the book of Pinocchio that is now in the public domain, like the Jungle Book, so you can do whatever you want with it effectively?
What, like the Amazon Prime Cinderella, which is new out now, and every single clip, snippet, or any image I've seen from it makes my blood curdle.
Oh,
So maybe
I saw the little trailer and I was like, oh, James Acaster is in this. He's very funny, but he's in it with James Corden. So I was like, oh,
yeah,
that spark of hope dashed into the cold earth.
It looks it made me shudder, and not in a I'm scared of it way, but in a like, oh god, imagine like being locked in a room and having been forced to watch it.
So you're going to go and see He's All That instead.
Oh yeah, I did hear about this actually. He's All That. So basically just a gender swapped version of She's All That, yeah?
Yeah, She's All That. Yeah.
I'm all over that.
It's got Matthew Lillard in it.
I'm all over it.
Well, now double.
But that's it. Has anybody seen anything of note other than this week's movie?
Was there anything horror centric in the recent PlayStation lineup? We already covered Alan Wake.
Yeah,
because that had been announced early, hadn't it? But there's been more trailers for that now.
I think it was just the trailer for Alan Wake so I think last week we covered the announcement.
Yeah,
but this
now
week,
there's a trailer, but there's nothing else horror centric, is there? There's just Spider-Mans and Wolverines and stuff.
Spider-Mans and Wolverines and Gods of Wars. That's pretty much it. I think. I don't think anything else.
Nothing else spooky
was going on. We've had a Resident Evil, you know. There was a moment where I thought, "Is this could this be Silent Hill?" But it was like a Radiohead interactive game and experience.
Make my video with Radiohead, like the Marky Mark version on Mega CD, or was that Saturn?
Oh my god, I'm laughing, but I only slightly know what you mean. Marky Mark.
Yeah, it was a real thing. I think it was on the Mega CD.
You definitely had it, right?
No, I never had a Mega CD.
But if you did,
not that privileged.
But if you did, you would definitely have.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Huge Marky Mark fan.
Well, what else did you watch on the train?
So I had a long train journey recently. So much like when I used to go on plane journeys and just binge a load of films, watched a couple as we went. So
how long was the train journey? About 8 hours. Something.
Yeah, well, there was a bit of a replacement bus service, made a bit of it a bit longer on the way down. But actually, once you get to Edinburgh to Scotland, Edinburgh to London is about 4.5 hours. So it's not too bad. Yeah. It's not too bad at all. So I watched Brightburn, which I had not seen yet. That was good. I enjoyed it. I think you guys have done an episode on it. Do you remember what you thought of it?
Good question.
Remember that we did an episode on it. I think I was middling on it, C or something. C++.
Yeah, I think it was fair. It's an interesting take on it, but it has a bit of the issue where there's just no agency to the character sometimes and things. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And that kid was a real piece of shit. Like, he's bad. And another one of the Elizabeth Banks again after we'd seen her just last week in Southern. So that was good.
Yeah.
And then I watched horror adjacent superhero movie. I finally got around to watching New Mutants.
I've not seen that one. Is it fantastic?
No, it's not fantastic. But at the same time, I don't think it deserved to get quite as slammed as it did. Like, it's got some interesting things in it. It also has some things which just don't make sense, that they were maybe put in a bit visually, but it's a little bit sparse for it to really work. And they clearly gave up on it at some point because it pseudo leans into something like with the spoilers for New Mutants for the one person that cares. But it mentions the Essex Foundation, so it gives you a little tease that maybe there's a Mr. Sinister thing in there, but it never really builds into anything else. It can't really overtly mention that it's linked to the X-Men, which is a shame because the New Mutants is a good comic and it covers some really iconic moments of those characters. They made it a little bit less tasteful by making Magic, some of her dialogue's a bit probo. She's a bit of and I know you're not meant to like her at the start, but it's like you can do it in a more creative way than making her kind of a bit racist. But yeah.
I remember it being like tonally a bit all over the place. Like it kind of wanted to be a horror film at times, but then it never fully committed.
Yeah. You could have leaned into that horror a little more, and I think it would have been good, and maybe leaned off a bit on the exposition. You don't need to do a this is the origin of my power, literally sitting down and talking about it. But from Claremont era X-Men, which is exactly how you explain powers back then, so maybe it's very true to the source material, in the style of X-Men comics at the time. But yeah, again, it was fine. And then I watched the animated Mortal Kombat, the Scorpion's Revenge.
Mm-hmm.
You know what?
Cool.
It's out there. It's bonkers. It's ridiculous. It's what Mortal Kombat probably is.
Is it better or worse than the live action?
Better than the movie by like infinite
times. What about the old one?
No, nothing's better than that. It's the greatest movie ever made.
That and Schindler's List.
Better than that. Yeah. I mean, has anyone got the gravitas of Shang Tsung? Can you quote anything that Schindler says in that film?
It's on my list.
Yeah. Doesn't say a treasure are these moments like Kano when he's ripping him off. He spits, "Hello, baby."
Yeah.
Do you know the actor who played Kano? I don't think he is Australian, but then for every other acting role he had after that, put on an Australian accent because people had thought he was
Kano.
And that's why Kano. I don't think Kano was meant to be Australian to start with, and he became Australian off the back of that performance of that man.
It works. That guy, I think he passed away, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's not alive anymore, unfortunately.
Some sort of drug issues, I believe, or some sort. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I shouldn't even say that.
Maybe a soldier defeated him in Mortal Kombat. For all we know.
Yeah. Okay. So Mortal Kombat. That was the best one of the three, was it?
I think Mortal Kombat is the one I would be most likely to watch again because it's very pacey. It's very quick. And visually they do a lot of cool stuff with it. It's what I would like to have seen from the live action one. Probably impossible to obtain without being the most expensive movie ever, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. What about you, Ben? Did you sorry, and is that all of them? Or did you sneak any more in?
That's me all done apart from the movie of the week.
What about you, Ben? What do you watch?
So I saw the Escape Room sequel.
Okay.
Escape Room Tournament of Champions, where, as you can imagine, winners of all the previous escape rooms.
That one at a time in the other escape room?
Well, no. Apparently, there's been it's been going on all over the place. But basically, all the winners get together for a tournament of champions to see who is the best at escaping the rooms. Oh my god! If you suspend your disbelief for this film and then suspend it some more, and then suspend it even more, and then maybe watch the film on mute, because basically the whole film is just people looking at things and then saying what they are. Also, right, the odds are against you in these escape rooms. You're minutes from death at any given moment. Everyone is so keen to solve the escape rooms as quick as possible. Everyone's got so much energy and like vigor, and everyone's like, "Oh, we got to do this. It's over here. We got to do this. We got to do this." I feel like I'd just be like, "Oh, give up."
I
give up. It's
on the
so
flip
ridiculous.
side, like the people designing the escape rooms, there has to be a level of play testing to see how difficult or easy these things are. Like they could, I mean, how do you play test that? Like you have to do it in a live environment. Whoops, made that one a bit odd. Everyone's dead.
They're too difficult, and like they work out. It's just so silly. Like it's not. I don't know what else to say. Very silly. It was so hard to enjoy because it didn't feel like a film. It didn't feel like it had a narrative. It was just, you're in this room, now you're in another room, and now this room, and then this is happening, and this is the reason why, and this is actually the truth. Here's the twist. Oh God.
You got no time to really, if you've got a time limit to escape the room in the Tournament of Champions, no less. Do you have time to like really build up the characters and do? I was never
made to feel like any of these characters, apart from the ones we saw in the first movie, had somehow survived their escape rooms. Nothing showed me that they were. I don't know. Like
I liked some of the escape rooms in the first one. I just didn't like. I especially did not like how it ended.
Yeah, I think we described it as it shit the bed. It shit the bed, and this film just kind of like lies in that shit for the whole. Constant the whole running
angels
time. Doesn't clear it up for anyone. That's it. And apart from that, I did see the first 2 episodes of the adaptation of Why the Last Man, which is on Hulu now, I believe. But from what I've seen so far, really, really promising. Now I know like early episodes of these sort of big post-apocalyptic. I'm just saying The Stand. Early episodes of stuff like this can be quite promising, and they do kind of start to lose momentum. But a lot of very interesting characters, a lot of stuff from the comics, which is sort of the same, but other stuff that's much further down the line in the comic is already present here. So it's just really interesting.
With the things coming in earlier, does that worry you, or is that satisfying? Have they said how long they're going to do it? Are they going to, is the intention that they make it quite a tight series and they just
I believe there's only 6 episodes.
Okay.
So, and the cast is great. I'll get the lead actor, I don't recognize, and he's Ben Schnetzer. But we've got like Diane Lane is in it, and a few other actresses that I recognize. Basically, but every character so far is really, really interesting, and what they're doing with it is pretty great. So
I've been looking forward to it. I think I said a few weeks ago when we first mentioned it was coming up, like Why the Last Man is in a sweet spot for me, that I've read the comic, enjoyed it immensely, but I've read it so long ago now that I only really remember the very major plot points, like individual pieces of it I have definitely forgotten. So I will be surprised by things as they come along.
Yeah. I'm really keen to watch more of it, so I've only seen the first 2 episodes, but I've got another episode to watch. So I think when a show grips you like that and you do want to go and immediately watch the next episode, that's always promising. So
how's the monkey actor? Is it a real monkey or a computer monkey?
It's not Spike from Ace Ventura. They get that one and everything.
It could be.
I don't know. Rick, I might have some bad news for you. I'm not sure how long those monkeys live.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. There's definitely some CGI going on. I don't know how much of it is CGI, but to be fair, the monkey hasn't featured all that much so far. It's just.
I mean, we live in a different time to when, old Ross from Friends could just chip around with one thing. Should he really use like monkey actors anymore?
Was that monkey actor the same monkey from Ace Ventura and the same monkey from like Outbreak?
Monkey Shines.
Monkey Shines.
The best the best monkey movie. And I'm only saying that because in Congo they're apes, which are not monkeys.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
But apart from that, that's pretty much it. Oh, I watched the Bob Ross documentary on Netflix, which is interesting. I was kind of worried it was going to possibly be a character assassination, which
I was about to say, is it going to make me sad?
But no, it turns out Bob Ross is mostly, obviously this is a documentary, and however the filmmakers want to portray him, they will. Mostly a good bloke, I think. Mostly a very nice, good bloke, and quite tragic how he died. But it's kind of like the documentary is about capitalism and how his name is, and the business that he sort of grew is just owned by not his family, just some other people.
Just by some wrong-uns.
Some wrong-uns, yeah. A woman who was like his business partner, and in the 80s, she's an old woman. She's got grey hair, or white hair, and she's a little old lady. She's still alive now, and she looks the same. What is going on?
Boss Rob.
Her name.
Stole the boss job.
Yeah, that's pretty much what she did. She went, "You're good at painting, you are. Yeah, let me have all your money." And
he's all your money.
Yeah, right.
Maybe she's one of those characters though that is just always been old, but then he gets to be the same age for ages, like
Morgan Freeman,
Christopher Lloyd. Like he was an old man in 1980s, and he doesn't look. If you see, they did a recent picture, didn't they, with him and Michael J. Fox together, and I was like.
He's still an old
pretty
man.
Much the same. Like, yeah, you look like you've aged 5 years since like 1982 or whatever.
Yeah, what's going on there? How did you get to that point where you looked old and now you've aged?
I'm done now.
So slowly.
Did he just get grey? Did he just go grey like at 21 and then just go through? Now, see, there you go. There's a celebrity I would accept his 80.
Yeah.
How old is he? Have a guess. Oh,
67.
No.
83.
82.
Oh, so close.
Very close. What about you, Luke? Have you seen anything?
Just a couple of bits. Been watching Doom Patrol some more, which is actually quite good. Not as good as the comics, but good. I also watched Shang-Chi.
Nice.
Sort of, I was I was in the area, and I was like, I kind of want to watch a film. I just kind of wandered into the Shang-Chi screening. Did he pay? I don't know. And it was completely okay. It was all right. It's actually quite fun. If you don't think of it as a Marvel movie, think of it as its own thing. That's when it's its most fun. With the kung fu action stuff is actually really good, and I quite liked all the fantasy stuff. Also, don't tell Kat this, but have you seen Shang-Chi?
Not yet.
Okay, well, there's a Liverpudlian person in there. Reminded me way too much of my future mother-in-law. Like they spoke in exactly the same way and said very similarly dumb things.
Wait a minute. A Liverpudlian character, but did you say mother-in-law?
Future mother-in-law, yeah.
Future mother-in-law, but the character you're referring to is male.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, it's just the way they presented themselves, the way they the things they said. There's a bit they talk about Planet of the Apes. I was like, she would have said that. That's exactly the kind of thing she would have said.
How did how did he get those apes to act like that?
I still don't really understand it. It's quite funny actually.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. I might go this weekend and see.
Just get a bit Dragon Ball Z at the end. Not that I'm complaining, but it gets a bit wild.
I think we ever talked about that. Were you guys into Dragon Ball Z in the day?
I was. I used to love watching hours and hours of people powering up and thinking about stuff.
I used to love. I love the way that time works in Dragon Ball Z, where literally a fight will be basically an entire, so like an hour of real time has passed in about 10 hours worth of show, and then after the fight ends, the next episode will be like 10 years later, and it's like what?
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to love Dragon Ball Z. I think
it
for
did
most
work
of my
for
friends,
building
the
up
Cell Saga was like the ones that a lot of people I know were into, but I really liked the Majin Buu stuff. That it was great.
That's when I kind of dropped off. I was in it deep during the Freezer saga and the earlier stuff.
Peggy Mitchell herself.
Yeah. What else did I also watched Stuck on the Matrix. I was on going for Arrow Player, Amazon Prime, Netflix, thinking, what am I need to watch something new. I need to keep seeing new things and filling my mind with new experiences. I need to put The Matrix back on. And it's like one of the best movies. It's just so good. Like, I don't know what it is. It's when I watch that movie now, I feel like everything is so carefully selected, so carefully placed and put together to make a really perfect little film. And I feel like our films as good as they used to be. I don't know.
I haven't seen The Matrix for many, many years. I know we've been doing some predicting recently, but I know we're all excited for the new Matrix. Like when I say we, I mean most of the world.
Yeah.
Are we going to be excited enough that the Duster makes a comeback?
The what makes a comeback?
The Duster, the big long leather jacket. The Duster.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Bury me in the Duster.
I mean, he doesn't wear it in the trailer, does he? We don't see him in it at all, do we?
Oh, I'm not going to. When that film comes out, I'm not going to starve if he doesn't have a Duster.
Oh, he's got to do.
The only thing I've not seen The Matrix in full. I've seen clips of it going back, and you're right. It's a very tight movie. The only thing that I don't think holds up quite so much when you watch back is whenever anyone uses a phone, or the phones and the sunglasses in The Matrix. I'm like, oh, when this was out, they were future phones. Now,
you mean like the sunglasses that don't have ear bits? Like
the sunglasses
they clip on
ear bits. And yeah, just anytime they use a phone, I'm pretty sure
a magnetized head.
There are some flip phones, right? They're made to measure, so it's like just a little bit of a pinch on your temples.
Yeah, but it's 1999, isn't it? It's like it's always 1999. I think is that the idea?
Flip phones are a permanent feature.
Yeah,
I think so.
People are playing Snake. I don't know. I just think it's like even like the effects that kind of don't hold up do hold up because they're in a computer program. if that makes sense.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah,
they're great. I mean, that would be the other thing that would make it for me. I totally understand the recasting because the Morpheus character, I know it's not explicitly named as far as anything I've seen that it is him, but it's about reincarnations and stuff like that as well. So it doesn't have to always be the same actors and so on as well. But I would like to see a Hugo Weaving turn up at some point.
Could be an evil Morpheus.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Honestly, I have no idea what to expect from it.
Luckily, the trailer doesn't seem to show. I mean, it shows loads, but it doesn't show a lot in the way of plot.
Yeah,
which is nice.
I'm looking forward to it being like a big surprise when they come in.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to obsess over the idea of an evil Morpheus, though, Ben. That's my theory. I guess it's going to be like a Mario situation. So evil Morpheus would be Warpheus.
Yeah, pretty much. Big old Warpheus, and then Lawrence Fishburne does turn up towards the end to fight.
It's good Morpheus.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Matrix. Maybe we'll, as it comes closer, if we see anything spooky in the trailers, or we'll do a bonus episode where we just get an excuse to talk about new Matrix.
Sounds good.
Just because.
And then the other thing I watched that I have to say, I wasn't excited about watching at all for some reason. I don't know. The trailer didn't grab me. But then it came out and everybody started going mad over Twitter talking about this movie, Malignant. And I was like, what is it? I was so desperate to go and watch this film.
What is a Malignant?
I still don't know what it is. It's a strange
days
film.
later. Yeah.
So I think
we sort of said at the end, didn't we? Like at the end of last week, even we sat there and went, "Oh, it feels. Is this going to be a bit of a generic one?" And I don't think the trailers, either on purpose or by accident, I think they really represent what this film is at all.
I'm not too sure James Wan knows what this movie is. That's the
I
big
certainly
question.
don't. I've watched it.
That's the big question.
I think it's got like I think he must have had a concept and he thought, how am I going to get to this point where I can do some sort of reveal? And he kind of just went through a lot of the basic beats of a James Wan movie to get there. So for quite a lot of the movie, it did feel like quite a generic supernatural horror. But when we get to a certain point, it does kind of, I don't want to say jump the shark because that makes it sound
because it's the best part. It's the best thing in the film. That
is the best part. Yeah.
I think for me, and we'll come to it. We'll say it now. Spoilers are going to be coming hot and heavy for malignant.
Watch out. And it's also a film that you should watch without any spoilers. I think.
Yeah.
That's
if you
knew the twist, I don't think you'd enjoy this film. Like I feel that mystery is what kept me watching, even when I was very, very bored.
I feel like that's why I had to go and watch this film on. I'm pretty sure opening night. It was Friday, wasn't it? I had to go and watch it on opening night because I just kind of thought, well, I'm glad I did that because I think
before it got spoiled. Yeah, so avoid spoilers if you can. Like if you have any interest in watching it, pause and come back after we've done it. For me, the statement that James Wan is making with the end of this film is, "Hey, I'm not just a horror guy. Give me an action film if you want." Because
he's done that though. He's
done.
Just remember,
Fast
give us more action movies because
just a quick reminder.
They're good at that. Just a reminder. Like, don't think of me as maybe you read the marketing for this film and thought they're putting me as legendary horror director James Wan. I need to remember I'm an action guy. Check this out.
I think it would have been weird if we saw the trailer for this movie and it went from the director of Aquaman and Fast and Furious.
Fast and the Furious.
Yeah.
So. I can have Patrick Wilson underwater. I can have someone beating the shit out of everyone. This is the time. But
okay.
Here we go.
So, Malignant is a 2021 American horror film directed by James Wan, from a screenplay by Akela Cooper, based on an original story by Wan. That's nice.
And his fiance, or and his.
Partner. We get and his partner. So who's his partner? Is that Ingrid Bisu? Is that her?
I mean that's the one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. She had the idea and went, James, sort this out for me, would you?
I'm curious. Yeah, I think that might be what happened. I'm curious.
So Madison is paralyzed by shocking visions of grisly murders and her torment worsens as she discovers that these waking dreams are in fact terrifying realities.
Yeah. So I've just realized I've not got the scores up. I'll go with them in a sec, but I've got some Letterboxd choice reviews. Morris Black says James Wan's Tenet, the consequence of giving a director who makes a lot of money too much creative vision and not so much needed oversight. This movie is a disaster. 5 stars. Fuck you. And he gave it 5 stars.
He gave it 5 stars.
I think he enjoyed the sort of the chaos of it all. Yeah.
Okay, got you.
Otis Right Hand put, the opening is so bad that I was sure it was one of those just kidding fake outs that was going to cut to a bunch of losers watching a shit movie before being killed. Then I realized that I was the loser watching the shit movie. Half a star.
And he went,
oh no.
I'm the loser all along.
Yeah. The reason I forgot to get the scores up was because I got the I posted in the Board of Advisors Facebook group about the film to get a gauge of what people, if anyone else had come out feeling the same way that I had. So it doesn't have many people have watched it yet. Andy Conduit Turner puts we're in for a fun episode. I'll tell you that for free. So Stephen Christopher put, I saw it Friday at the theatre and then again last night at home. I had the exact same feeling, but I came to the conclusion that I really liked it. After the most recent horror movies being haunted house stories, this one was a bit of a mix and a throwback. And then David Nesbitt put, it's a bit bonkers. I love how none of us can really say much in the way of review without spoiling it. It definitely steals some ideas from other movies, though. And everyone else is kind of excited, but dubious. I think that's the kind of energy. Excited but dubious about what they're going to sort of walk into.
Yeah.
That's like my energy every day of my life, I think. I'm excited, but what's going to go wrong? What's unexpected around the corner? Don't come at me.
I think those dubious feelings really lean into it, though, because for me, the first half, maybe even first 3/4 of this movie, I was right. I was right to be dubious. Like this is what I thought. Like this is exactly what I didn't want to happen. But yeah,
I was a bit embarrassed. I went with 2 friends, and that opening bit happened, which is the bit that this guy was talking about. The opening is so bad. He was sure it's one of those fake out when you're watching a movie within a movie. It was that bad that I was like a little bit embarrassed that I'd invited my friends to come watch it.
Did you choose the film?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to go and see.
And then it just seemed to keep that same level of awfulness for quite a while.
Yeah.
I did enjoy the early 2000s style opening credits.
Dark Castle. It reminded me of Dark Castle film.
100%.
The new metal music video stuff.
It was like a new metal music video, so like close-ups of just like gross stuff and just
here's like a surgical bowl. There's a knife in here.
And bits of exposition as well. Operation went well.
Yeah.
Look at these
went well.
Look at
X-rays
these
of
evil
stuff.
files.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's another James Wan movie. It's the Hills of Eyes remake. It's that type of opening, right? With all of the is a gross little mutant face.
I kind of loved it. It made me feel really nostalgic and we've watched some of the Dark Castle movies for this podcast, and even though I didn't absolutely love them, like it does really resonate with me in terms of an era of horror that I did really enjoy, and it kind of like shaped my tastes, I guess, as well. So like having that throwback did kind of make me feel like, this is pretty cool, actually.
Yeah,
despite the fact that the intro was a bit naff. The intro reminded me of like, could have been like New Mutants. You know what I mean? Like sort of a little intro of like, here's the origin of one of the bad characters.
Yeah, one of the baddies. For me, this was James Wan's Dark Place at the beginning, especially with the ladies doing a thing to video going, we're going to see his power as, and again, mutants. So we get with a lady who is, and it's set in the 90s, isn't it? It's like 93, something like that. Like is
in a big Dark Castle style mental asylum looking place on
asylum on a cliff edge.
Yeah.
Was there a moment when you saw a certain pair of socks at this moment where you thought, hang on a minute, and started to question the
panda socks? Yeah,
there were some panda socks.
There were some panda socks, and they were like saying, "Oh no, we've got to go and see to him. This guy is kicking right off. He's escaped containment again. Right, let's go and deal with that then." And they've got their tranquilizer rifle, and he busts someone's arm, and it's all kicking off. And then he's behind a curtain on the radio, and this is where we get our first reveal. And it's like, oh, he can talk now. No, he can't talk. I've immediately established that he can broadcast his thoughts through the radio.
That's exactly, and that's the first thing that one of the doctors says. He's broadcasting his thoughts. Like, if that happened, that's not the first thing you'd say. You'd be like, what the fuck's that on the radio?
Yeah.
You wouldn't go, it's definitely him talking through the radio.
Especially as we learn that they're not running a New Mutants. They're not running like a lab where everyone has got weird and wacky powers where broadcasting your thoughts to radio thing. Mostly it's a hospital for kids with like illnesses and so on.
Tumors, isn't it? Are they like tumor specialists or something?
They're like specialist doctors. They're definitely not like mutant specialists.
Yeah.
Like, so someone broadcasting their thoughts should be a little more than you would just point.
You know what she tells him that as soon as he does that, she says, "You've been a bad boy, Gabriel." I mean, it is the thing is the dialogue.
You've been a bad boy. And was that line? And the other line is, "We've got to cut out the cancer."
We've got to cut out the cancer. Look directly down the barrel of the camera while you're saying it.
Yeah. The thing is, like, some of the dialogue is so bad, and it comes across as stuff that is kind of Garth Marenghi's Dark Place-ish. But the thing that's confused me the most about it is, I don't know if James Wan knows that it is coming across that way, if that makes sense. I know someone in a group I was in, he said, yeah, it's difficult because they're trying to do that so bad it's a good thing. And I was like, I don't think they are. I don't think James is doing that.
Would anybody go for that unless it was
a horror comedy?
Unless it was a horror comedy, yeah. Would anybody really aim for that in like a serious horror movie?
If this movie James can be
a little bit. Go on, sorry.
So I was just saying, if this movie went on to be overtly, have more comedic elements, I would absolutely buy it.
I mean, it's
my
very
opinion
funny
of it would change
at times.
But I don't think it's. I agree with you. Like, I don't think it was ever meant to be funny. Like, if this was in a Sam Raimi movie, I'd be like, yeah, I'm on board with this. This is meant to be. It's meant to take the gore to the extreme, and it's meant to be silly. But everything else is done with such a straight face.
That's what I mean. So he could just be playing the part so well that, like, when you get to see like a kind of shitposty comedian, and they never corpse, they never break character. So you're like, I can't tell if this is part of the act or like he could be doing that, but I just don't think he is. Like, after seeing Aquaman, which is also
seen enough of his movies.
Self-aware.
We've seen enough of his movies to know, his style well enough.
But he can do like good stuff as well. Like, I don't know, like The Conjuring is quite mature, I would say, story.
Yeah,
about a close-knit family.
There's a couple of moments, like a couple of wink, wink, nudge, nudge moments in like the Conjuring movies where you're, we know we're in a silly little ghost.
But were they written by other people? Was that
exactly?
Was that the thing?
I don't know.
I guess that's the thing as well. Like, when you see this movie, there are any number of bits where I think it's very, very James Wan, and it's very, very it's very of his style, and he uses the camera so effectively, and he can do great tension, and there's some great work that you see him do, but it is at such odds, especially in this early part of the movie, with what everyone on screen. I don't think there are not anyone that. Well, there's a couple of people. We'll come to them. There was not many people that really struck me as you're a bad actor, or that the effects are too cheap here, or anything like that. But it just feels that it's so at odds with what the tone of the story is that I couldn't put them together. Like, it didn't work just right. And this opening scene really kind of set the tone that would carry me through, I don't know, 2/3 of the movie.
Yeah. When you kind of watch a movie that's this kind of tonally confused, it tends to be a much smaller budget, to be more like a much more amateur sort of production put together. And I was like, maybe this is just a super low budget. James Wan just doing his best of it. But then the special effects started to come, and I was like, whoa, that's like the entire house has just changed around this woman.
So apparently the budget's 40 million.
Yeah, so
Which-
it's not a low budget affair at all.
I mean, it's not a low budget one, but it's not like massive budget.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
not
so
like big, but for a horror movie, that's not bad, right?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Especially was a lot of the stuff in the house, which is like makes up a fair chunk of the movie, did remind me of some of these modern horrors that don't quite hit the mark. Maybe like reminded me of The Boy a little bit in places.
It reminded me of The Boy. That came to my mind so often. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because he was scabby towards the end, wasn't he? When he came out of the porcelain, he was a scabby little boy.
Yeah, but it was that kind of tone and that kind of bad exposition in the dialogue. The kind of the forced eeriness. There's a bit in this where later on she finds her stepmom, and then she says, "Did I mention anyone as I was growing up?" And then she's like, "No, you were completely fine." And she goes, "What about Gabriel?" And then she looks up and the sound goes boom. I laughed my head off. I thought it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Like it was just so stupid, like so over the top.
Also, I noticed the sound at a number of points on this one as well. Like there's lots of like little string things. Like she's like popping up the stairs. It was like ching, 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 ching.
I've also never seen a house made to look more obviously spooky than that. I'm just like, just switch some bloody lights on. You're living there, well, on your own for the most part. Open some windows, get some bloody lights on. Everything doesn't have to be just draped in this eerie dark green constantly, where you're just like, is that just no one lives like that. No one does. Everyone puts nice lights up and just lights everything wonderfully.
Yeah, I'll just put my ghost sheets up. Sure, this makes its space really dusty and spooky. No, it's the aesthetic I've been going for.
Yeah. Also, there's weird character choices. There's a bit where the woman gets home after she's been physically like attacked and her husband's been killed. First day home, she goes home, spends it alone. She doesn't lock the door. Like she's just willy-nilly walking about, tidying up the house.
Oh well,
the first day back, you wouldn't stay the night on your own anyway.
No,
and you'd lock up. I don't know. It was. Then again, saying this, I actually came away quite enjoying it. So I don't know what to make of it.
I mean, obviously we are going to go heavy into spoilers, but I don't think let's not spoil it until we get to the twist.
Yeah, we'll come to it.
But what we'll say is this is one of the weirdest experiences I've ever had with a film, where a film, because I rarely get this from a film where I feel like it redeems itself with like the final, I don't know, 30 minutes.
20 minutes, maybe.
I have rarely felt like that about any film from any genre where I've gone, okay, I didn't really enjoy it up until this moment, but that 30 minutes has pretty much redeemed the whole thing. With this, I really do feel like that. And that just goes to show, what.
Yeah, I'm glad I've seen it because of that. I'm still not sure. And maybe I'm going to decide as we talk about it. I'm not sure if that 30 minutes then makes this a good film, but I'm glad I've seen it now because of that bit.
Also, I would quite like to watch it again. Yeah. What is wrong with me? Like, I tell you, for the first half an hour, I was falling asleep in the chair and thinking this is a terrible decision to come and watch this film. But then I want to watch it again now.
You turn into your friends and saying, "Oh, obviously that's because I've got to record a podcast on this. Like, don't I wouldn't have chosen this otherwise."
Don't judge me.
Yeah. So who's in this film? We've got Annabelle Wallis, who's our main character, plays Maddie. Annabelle Wallis, we know, sang a Coldplay song or something.
She sang a Coldplay song. She's also in Peaky Blinders, and it looks like she's been in loads of like Hollywood movies, but I guess smaller parts because I don't really recognize her from much. She's been in like The Mummy, a King Arthur movie, some of the Annabelle movies. Okay, actually, I think she might be. Is she the lead in Annabelle? Yeah, I think she's the lead.
Which Annabelle? Oh, is she?
First one. I've never seen it though. So.
Oh, I have. I don't remember it sadly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's the lead in that. So obviously she's wait, is Annabelle a James Wan movie? Just produced by James Wan.
It's Conjuring adjacent, right? So
she's a Jimmy Wan favorite.
McKenna Grace is a young Emily May. I don't recognize her. I recognize the husband guy at the start. He was in Supernatural. he had some really dodgy dialogue right from the get-go.
Oh, we'll come to him in a minute. He's my first series of notes. Makes that gaslighting son of a bitch from Midsummer look like the nicest dude.
There's a pair of detectives as well, George Young and Michole Briana White.
The guy the detective who every girl seems to like really fancy, looks a bit like James Wan. Do you think that's like he's implanted himself into the film and made all the girls like him?
Possibly.
And I think if he implanted himself into the movie, it would have made him a better detective.
This character kind of
basically the clues come to him, he still fucks
it. Probably the most, like, in terms of a chase sequence, though, I've never seen anyone more determined. Literally, there's so many moments where I go, I'd be absolutely knackered. But you're still going. I'm gonna keep coming. I'm gonna keep coming for you. I'm never gonna stop. Like a fucking T1000.
but also just shoot your gun. Should I jump off this fire escape or use the gun that will get in?
Should I jump off this fire escape and land on my back?
Like salmon drops onto a bin. The guy who did the voice of Gabriel is called Ray Chase. And that name rings a bell. It looks like he's done a lot of voices for like animes and stuff.
Yeah.
Who else? I don't recognize.
There was a sister character as well, who I thought looked a little bit like Florence Pugh, just a tad.
Yeah,
I was a bit like, definitely had those vibes, but yeah, a lot of sort of minor characters as well, but like the doctors and stuff.
Yeah. Maddie Hasson is the sister, is it? Looks like she's in some of the horror films.
Yeah, the guy, one of the scientists, the one who I think he has a tranquilizer gun at the start. He looks like a cross between, Hitchcock from Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Kyle Gass from Tenacious D. Like he was like the perfect meeting point between the two.
Last week, Kyle quit the band. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, obviously after that intro, it's 28 years later, and then it takes place in Seattle, in a nice but creepy house, and a lady called Madison who works as a nurse. Does she work as a nurse or something like that?
So I've never fully established, but it's definitely like she does some kind of shift work because she's getting home after a long day and wants to get and have a lie down. But unfortunately,
she's pregnant. And when she comes home, her husband's in the bedroom. His name's Derek, watching UFC. It's just a really odd relationship where I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
It isn't watching UFC that makes him the worst thing in the world, but literally when that is the most redeeming feature of his personality. He's watching some sport, that's admirable in some senses. But other than that, he's just the most transparently awful man in the universe.
She mentions she's got some like pains and aches from the fact that she's got the baby. She calls it like a muffin. And he looks like she's just farted on his face. Like he looks so angry.
And it's like, take a Tylenol or something like that. And then immediately follows up seconds later by saying, like a real heel turn on this straight away. He goes, maybe, just maybe. Is it after she switches telly off? And then he goes, well, maybe instead of taking bloody painkillers, you might want to stop getting pregnant. I was like, fucking hell, this has escalated quickly.
Yeah, I actually gasped a little bit, to be honest. I was like, just was not expecting. It's like he pokes it as well. Pokes the baby.
Pokes her in the tummy. So she nut him or something, or like shove him.
I think she just shoves him away.
And then he bashes her head.
He immediately reacts by smashing her head against the wall. And then, classic move as well. He's immediately sorry. He does say something along the lines of, it's established here that she's had a couple of miscarriages before this, because he says you should stop
getting pregnant. Oh, and of course, maybe I've been too too harsh on him, because of course having a miscarriage has been real hard on him. he's had a rough time.
No, he's just a twat.
He's the worst man, and he's sitting there as he goes to. She locks him out of the bedroom, He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," at the door. So she's locked him out while she's like bleeding profusely from the head. And he has a little goes to bed on the sofa. Rightly so. It's the least of it.
He goes to bed on the sofa. He wakes up and there's like creepy. No, well, what happens? So first of all, the blender turns on and the fridge opens. At no point does he go switch the bloody light on.
How does the fridge open? Like Gabriel can control electronics, but
yeah, you can. Gabriel is a classic Donatello type. He does machines. So,
yeah, but I mean, it's not like fridges aren't held shut by electronics, are they?
Yeah,
he can also control cheese. So he's controlled a bit of cheese in there, and the cheese just nudged the fridge open.
Yeah, he controls also. So he is. So my first note is establishing what Gabriel is. He's kind of Carrie times maximum overdrive. So he's a couple of Stephen King films.
Yeah,
and he can control for spooky effect. He can broadcast his thoughts. That's a standard thing. Everyone can do that. He can broadcast his thoughts, and he can open a fridge. He can switch a telly on.
So at this stage, what we're thinking is strictly supernatural, based on the intro as well. You know, some sort of supernatural being that was at the start, whether it's the spirit of that thing or whatever. That's kind of what.
Maybe he's a ghost now after the cancer was cut out.
Yeah. And
kind of an X-Files-y, like James Wan doing the X-Files episode. That's kind of what I was thinking of initially.
A little bit like that, because you have the nice little intro to set up the origin of the character. Then, you know, however many years later, it's back. So and downstairs, and basically whatever this thing is does manifest in a way almost like a shadow person, doesn't it? It appears watching TV at one point and then vanishes when what's his name, Derek, switches on the light.
Hang on.
I know what you mean.
I know this doesn't sit later on, because for all of the powers he does have, as we'll work out when we get to the reveals later on, disappearing should not be one of his powers.
And like slowly letting like a sofa cushion raise up as if a ghost was like standing up from it. How do they do that?
Maybe they've got a memory foam sofa.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point.
Maybe that guy has that problem all the time. Oh my god, a ghost! And then Maddie's like, "No, I just sat up like 10 minutes ago."
I've just moved. I'm in the other room.
Sorry. But also when we see like this being, whatever it is, it kind of looked a bit supernatural to me as well. It didn't look like a standard silhouette of a person. It looked a bit.
They said there was footprints on the ceiling, or the hands were upside down.
Yeah.
Which. No, that doesn't like track either, because they'd have to be climbing on the walls to.
Well,
I don't know.
Obviously, we'll get to it when we try to understand this. We'll circle back where we need to, but basically, whatever this thing is, pretty much snaps Derek's head like completely the other way, right? Snaps his neck, kills him,
twists it off, and then he goes and Maddie comes down and is like, "Derek, stop messing about with the telly in the fridge. You're already in trouble for being a rough shithouse boyfriend." And she comes downstairs, and the spooky man is there as well, and he chases her up the stairs to the nursery, and then pushes the door and knocks her out on the really hard carpet.
Yeah, she like slams quite painfully. Again, I guess then again, a lot of this stuff maybe it's just in her mind, because he puts her in a. I don't know what we get.
He puts her in like a mind palace, like Sherlock.
He teleports her a bit later on, so he's got some mind powers as well, as we'll soon learn. But he knocks her out, and he's chased her through the house, and he's pushed her over. She wakes up in hospital. Her sister is there, and do we get to hear like the extra horrible bit of news here that like she wakes up in hospital, her sister is there. She's lost the baby in the event, but bad news, lost the baby. Good news, Derek's dead.
Here's a nice 1-2 piece of information. So we're introduced to a police detective at this point, Kakoa and Regina. Kakoa Shaw, Regina Moss, and they're kind of looking around the house, and there's like a, how would you describe her? That the girl who's like a evidence.
The CSI woman who fancies the detective, and like they point. This is another one that tonally I was like, why are the quirky cops having like mad bants at the crime scene? And it's like Brooklyn Nine-Nine levels of them just like pissing about, and it's like, oh, look at this guy. He's got his head like twisted off. Oh, here comes Miss Lonely Heart, and she's like, yeah, I fancy you, the detective. Like literally,
I do
short
fancy
of having
you,
like love you written on her eyelids, like from Indiana Jones. Like, what else could we do? And they're so jovial, but like genuinely, the detective Moss is more pissed off that she's out looking at a crime scene at 4 a.m. When he goes like morning, he goes, fucking, I'll tell you when it's morning.
Still nighttime,
it's still really nighttime.
Still bloody nighttime.
She's livid, absolutely livid. And then walks in and looks at this man's head twisted off, and then she's like, anyway, she fancies you, mate.
So the police detectives interview Madison, don't they?
Yeah.
And she pretty much, like, what does she even say? Pretty much just tells them exactly what we witnessed, that there was someone. She says there was someone in the house, but then they're like, oh, there was no sign of forced entry. Did they say?
I think in the car they say there's like a really bad bit of back and forth, and it ends with Detective Shaw saying motive, boom, like a little like
motive.
Sting.
That's right. Yeah, because there's a bit where Regina Moss. There's a bit throughout the film where she's a bit like, it's Madison. Madison's the bloody killer. I got you.
Yeah, abusive husband. That she's lost a couple of babies before. The neighbors have reported like domestic violence all the time. So yeah, I reckon it's her already. Bet you a $5 that it's her.
We get like the first instance of many of that kind of dubstep Pixies remix.
Oh yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I mean, it sounds kind of cool, but you can't use it that often. you got to use it sparingly.
It sounds kind of cool, but like it almost hasn't got enough of a horror. It doesn't feel like a part of a horror movie. It kind of feels a bit. I don't know. It was very strange. It's like James Wan just stumbled across that. He's like, oh Jesus Christ,
I love that
straight.
track.
That's good. Straight to next movie. Straight to next movie. At the start, the end, and in the middle.
Yeah, many times as I can, if I'm honest.
It feels like it's his version of that soul music. Is it what was it? What's that soul music? Is that
Live and Let Die?
yeah, pretty much Live and Let. We've done this before, haven't we? I've got deja vu. We've done that.
Then we cut to there's a tour happening in Seattle. I never knew this. I thought it was really cool, actually, little elements have there. That Seattle, there was a big fire, and then they rebuilt the city like one floor above, so there's still like underground.
Someone just went after the fire was out. Well, look at the state of this. Where are we going to even clean up? Let's just build on top. Build on top. Just put a cover over this and make the city slightly taller.
It's like Silent Hill, though, isn't it? That's like the story of
a secret underground.
But there's like
base.
shop fronts, and there's later on we see like the carriages and all that creepy ground mist everywhere.
Perfectly preserved. Those carriages have not perished a day in that misty basement.
Yeah, incredibly misty. But the tour guide, she seems quite fun. There's a bit where she's like saying, some people say there's ghosts, and all the lights start sort of sparking and stuff. And then she goes, ooh. And then everyone goes home.
They all give her tips, though. So real life horror, the horror of a gig economy. Come on. Just pay her a better basic rate, guys.
Yeah. So then she starts to hear noises. She turns off all the lights down this tunnel. She hears noises at the other end of the tunnel. And then she starts just to walk into the darkness, which I would probably just turn the lights on first. You were right there.
She says like,
switches.
What she automatically assumes that someone's back there. I feel like I would just go, I'm just leaving. See you later.
Yeah. And then she goes in and she hears the noise coming towards it. And it does sound very creepy, I have to say. And then she runs back and she's like fiddling with the cables. I'm like, just get out there. Just move. Like, there's no... I don't know.
They're not playing it's not playing a game where if you plug these lights back in, the killer's going to go,
what's the time, Mr. Wolf?
Cool, yeah.
You got me. See you later.
Lights on, I can't attack you. I am the monster from the movie Lights Out, which was an allegory for depression, I guess. But never mind. Like, it's me. And I give up because the lights are on. But that's not what happens. She gets absolutely beaten up and captured by what we see the face of the beastie. He's all puckered and scabby.
Yeah.
She pretty much immediately wakes up in what looks like just another area of the underground, which I kind of thought, right? Just
I thought so too. Yeah,
a room in the underground where she's got like strung up on the wall.
Did it remind you of the in Insidious? There's like in the further, there's that red demon thing, and he's got like a workshop. There's lots of things spinning around, and he's got like a wheelie saw thing, what we call those things, to sharpen his blades or whatever on. That kind of workshop environment looked quite similar to, where it gave me some very similar vibes. And also it reminds me of the workshop that the Jigsaw person has. I think he's got a thing about killers having
dusty
garages.
Workshops. It reminded me of an attic where from Sinister Bagul might keep his videos.
Yeah.
And all of his little relics and stuff. So yeah, all of these, like this whole series of films, maybe these guys have similar tastes in property. I mean, whoever their real estate agent is, probably, I know, when a place with a good loft or a good basement or a good like outdoor workshop comes up, I'll phone one of these guys that are from a one-word horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then with Madison at home, she's around doing some laundry.
She's securing the house at first, though, Ben. And I don't know if you guys noticed, because she's put some locks on because her sister brings some stew round. But what I loved at this scene first, when she first secures the house, she just has massive fucking like bolts in the junk drawer. You know, where you or I might keep string and batteries. She was like, right. Got some securing of the house to do. Let's open it up. Yeah, just open up my drawer that keeps all of my massive dead bolts in it.
There's quite a nice shot of her running around the house, isn't there? Like a sort of bird's eye view shot of the house.
Yeah.
Which is quite cool. I quite liked how the camera moved and that. It was sort of like focusing on her and moving fast with her and then stopping with her. It wasn't like panning across. It was nice.
This is the James Wan stuff that I say, that this is like some of the great stuff that he does, like camera movement and the way that focuses can be done in interesting ways. Like that's when you see his best work like coming through.
Yeah. And is it not long after that? Is it another day when she's doing the laundry that we see her?
Yeah, actually, I think the prepping the house and getting some stew from your sister might have been before the kidnapping. So yeah, now it's bedtime. And she's doing a bit of laundry. Head starts bleeding a bit. That's no good.
Yeah. So this is a recurring thing. Obviously, the back of her head's bleeding quite a lot. And it's a throwback, obviously, to that moment where she got her head hit on the wall. And there's nothing more than that at this stage. We kind of understand.
I thought, did they not like... she talked to her sister and she goes, "This is where Thingy cracked me on the head. Cracked me against the wall." Like they point to it a little bit too much, because even there, I'm thinking, okay, so her skull's kind of cracked open, and then the cancerous bit inside her is like, it's like a spirit that's been let out or something. That's kind of where my mind was going at this point.
I had the note here, and I've realised that we missed a little bit when the tour guide was captured. Gabriel makes her give him. You can control phones, but can't control the phone book. So he needed to know Dr. Weaver's phone number, I guess. So he gets her phone to phone Dr. Weaver.
Just wants to catch up.
He'd be like, I think Gabriel here would be so disappointed, because he phones Dr. Weaver and Dr. Weaver answers the phone. She goes, "All right." And he says, Dr. Weaver, it's time to cut the cancer out, which is what she said to him, 1993, when she was going to cut the cancer out. And she totally doesn't remember. She was like, "Who is this?"
Oh, yeah. How would you not remember?
The most significant thing that must have ever happened in your career.
There's no way anything else has happened in your life. You've gone, did I cut the cancer out of that person, or was it another telekinetic weirdo?
It's me, Gabriel. You remember Monster Boy can broadcast my thoughts through electronic devices.
Wait.
Keep going. Keep going.
Panda socks. Panda socks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
panda
God.
socks.
And then
Oh.
I'm really sorry. I see a lot of patients. Like I can't be expected to remember them all, even the ones that were little ghouly thought broadcasting men. So he must be incredibly frustrated. So frustrated, in fact, that now in this laundry scene, Madison sees Dr. Weaver shouting no in the door of a washing machine.
I actually like that little visual. That was a fun little.
It made me jump a bit as well. I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
what's going on here? And it did take me a few seconds to kind of like work out what was happening as well. It wasn't an immediate thing.
And then she does a Silent Hill to her house. It's not a creepy version. She just teleports and the room morphs from her laundry room into Dr. Weaver's house.
I thought it was a cool little effect. Like I said, I didn't think, I was like, this film must just be a super low budget affair until that happened. And I was like, it's actually quite visually impressive at times.
Yeah, it's really good. It gave me good, another absolutely timely reference here. Very good Soul Reaver vibes when she's like changing worlds and like the camera just pans around.
That legacy is Kane.
Yeah, that's it. All warps. And you're in the not the Netherrealm, you're in Dr. Weaver's very nice apartment or house.
Yeah. And so basically what she witnesses is Gabriel murdering Dr. Weaver. What do we see?
Award. It's quite brutal. Like he mushes her face right up.
Yeah.
So it's like there's like an award that she had, which is like a long, spiky
weapon looking.
It's the snake sword that you give to doctors, like the healing symbol, isn't it?
Oh that's
It's the
Perseus?
snake.
It's
I don't know, the snake sword.
Bloody snake sword, isn't it?
Some sort of Greek myth thing, I think.
But yeah, so unfortunately for Dr. Weaver, that trophy is rather sharp.
Yeah.
And I don't think he uses the sharp end this time. But it doesn't. I feel like he's just bashing her on the.
Oh, he does, and he just busts the other bit off, doesn't he? He just gives her a clubbing with it.
Yeah, I think so.
A serious clubbing.
Yeah. So yeah, he deals with her, and like he's going through, he's beating her up again. Do you remember us yet? Oh, Gavin. Gavin. Graham. No, it's Gabriel.
Gabriel, I'll make you remember. Bang.
Yeah.
So at this point, Gabriel just looks like a long, greasy haired. This is another thing. I'm like, we'll get to it, obviously, but during this moment, why is the hair greasy? But long, greasy haired, like I guess like a duster coat. What kind of coat is it?
Yeah,
like,
he's got a duster. He's got some gloves. He's like if Resident Evil's nemesis dressed up as the Crow.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good shape. Never thought of it like that, but yeah. So we don't get a good look at much other than like, the silhouette of whatever this person is. But yeah, so after that, Madison. What happens after that? Does she go straight to the police yet? Or
the police find that body, I think.
They find the body, and it's like, oh, Dr. Weaver has been killed. And it's like, but who would kill her apart from that famous monster boy that she once operated on?
There's like a photo of a case they had open, or no, sorry, you have to go through all the cases, all these case files, and they find a photo of a young girl. And it's like a weird dialogue between Kay and some other detective. Not very well written at all. Like, can you age this up 30 years or something?
Oh, yeah, that's it. And he's just a random guy that's in because he takes Moss back. And they go, right, he's like, oh, you're not going to look through all those cases, are you? And he's like, no, we are going to look through all those cases. Gives her a little wink. And then she's like, wah, wah. And then they end up saying something really late. Yeah, and he goes, oh, it's bloody date night. He goes, oh, sorry I kept you late. And then she just gets this other random man who just happens to be working. Like, goes, oh, age this up by 30 years. Well, yeah.
This is annoying. This is like those episodes of X-Files where they look at something which is like 3 pixels wide and they go, zoom in and enhance. Yeah. Zoom in, enhance, zoom in, enhance. like age us up by 30 years, and then he does age it up by 30 years, and it looks identical.
It's like
to
a
Madison.
photo of Madison.
It's like a photo of Madison. Like there must be some room for like we see those e-fits of like criminals and that. You're like, well, no one actually looks like that, but I can kind of get the vibe of it. There's no way he's going to age that up 30 years and go, yeah, that's pretty much her. Yeah, great.
Yeah. And I didn't do this with any technology because it's hand drawn. You literally just looked at it in your mind and gone like 30 years.
Why not?
Drawn it perfectly, literally as if she's been in a photo booth that has one of those like sketch modes that turns you into a pencil drawing.
I'd be like,
even a haircut is accurate.
Forget the murder the haircut. Forget the murder investigation. Have you done this?
This is amazing.
Tell me, have you done it? Because you should be working here. You should be working. You should be working for the CIA or something because this is mad.
Because you can accurately. Okay, so let me have a look at her background here. So, so a little girl was poorly adopted. What were her school grades like? So I reckon she's probably going to have this kind of income. Probably going to dress like so. What haircut is she going to have? There you go.
Serious fringe.
Yeah, real good fringe work. Or maybe he's like a Darren Brown trickster. And he's just drawn every possible woman that it could be, and then when he comes up to him later and goes, "Oh, have you seen that picture?" He's seen someone that's coming and gone, right, this one. This is the one that looks the most like her. But there's loads where he's drawn her as like, this would look like if she became a tiger, I guess. There we go. If she was blonde, every single version. But yeah, it's a perfect e-fit. But at the same time, this is the first example of the detectives having to basically do no work at all because Maddie and her sister, they come to see them and go, detectives, I saw the murder that's happened. Saw it happen.
So they see the
the
first
one,
murder.
right?
They go to the. I think they go there after the second murder. So she views. She sees the second murder, which is another doctor, older dude, living in like an apartment complex. He wakes up with Gabriel on his chest, like a horrible...
I liked that the bit it melts. So she's on bed on the other side of the bed, and it melts into the other room, and the camera's kind of on its side, and it looks like it's crawling on the wall over her. And he sort of sits on top of it.
And he just gives him a triple stab. That's it.
First thing that happens is she screams at the idea of being lying next to like an elderly man. That's the first thing.
Yeah, before that though, because we have it's probably the longest, most consistent scene in the entire movie. There's about 3 or 4 minutes of him just getting ready for bed.
Yeah.
It's
like he can't build up the tension.
It's like lock up, brush my teeth in real time.
get into my gym jams, sit on the edge of the bed, and then a close up of my ankles. So you think someone's going to grab my ankles, but then I just get them out of the way just at the last moment.
And just don't. He picks up his book. Should have a little read. Nah, I'm too sad. I'll just go to sleep.
When he stabs the guy in the face and he like messed up his jaw, I was like, well, he's moving his arms weird. That was another little clue. I was like, there's something peculiar going on the way he moves.
Yeah,
you're a bit double jointed, aren't you?
I honestly just thought at this stage, bit deformed, possibly maybe a bit undead. Something weird's going on.
He's a little bit ghouly at least. If at most he is a cancer man that got chopped off.
Because we get a close look at his face, and then they go into the police place, and then they have a thing drawn up. And then what's the name has that cracking joke about, oh, great, so we're searching for an EKB, or whatever this thing is, for what's the name from the Goonies.
We're searching from Sloth for the Goonies. That got a big laugh. I just kept thinking, they've straightened, even in the drawing of this, they've made the hair way too straight. They've straightened the life out of that hair.
Yeah.
They've and another reckon it's the same artist that they got to draw.
It's got to be
the same. He's just minding his own business, having like aged up a photo 30 years. He goes, oh, well, it's probably enough art for today. He goes, oh, can you draw this monster man?
Can you draw?
It's like it's spot on as well. That guy should work for this. What do they call it? Remote viewing, where they sort of imagine the place where the dead body is, then they draw it, and it's like perfect. Like the psychically links it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of that, though, she mentions in this discussion here, genuinely, they put forward the idea of well, this bloke attacked Madison, perhaps like, and he banged her, and she's got a bang on the head. Maybe he formed a psychic link. You guys work with psychics all the time, right? And this is when she also fancies the detective man. Is like, oh, I did an audition for a psychic in a police drama. They told me they really use them all the time. And he's like, ha, 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 but I fancy you.
Yeah. There was a bit where they mentioned handcuffs as well, and then they kind of coyly look at each other, do a little giggle. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
So basically they, for some reason, believe them and say, right, we'll go to this place, this apartment complex that you've kind of just
she's researched herself,
vaguely...
because he's died in the the silver apartments. He's opposite a big sign that says silver. And literally they go there and it's like, reckon it's that 1/3 from the left at the top.
And that's that. They go up there and they knock on a few doors, but then they just discover the body. And at this point, they're like, hang on a minute, what's going on here then? I think Detective Regina Moss is still thinking, it's still Madison. She's taking all these people out.
Well, I try to wonder why. But they find out that there's a connection between them all, because they find out that the case that Weaver was looking at was a young Madison. So I think that connection ties Maddie into it all.
Ties everyone together.
Is that before or after they see the art, when they've left? Because it's only after that she's left, after they get back from finding this murder, that the guy who drew the picture comes back and goes, so yeah, he's fishing for a compliment. He's like, picture was all right then?
Okay.
And he was like, I haven't even seen the picture yet. So you've done all that work and I haven't even looked at it yet. This is, what do you mean? Like, I assumed you'd seen the picture as you brought the exact woman I brought in. You brought her into the office. Oh no, she just came here coincidentally. I'm the worst detective ever. Then he looks at the picture, and it's like, oh yeah, this is a perfect, even haircut, accurate haircut. The way she has done her hair today.
Yeah. So at this point, I have to say, I was still like a little bit bored, not quite enjoying the film. But then I think it starts to the mystery of, wait, so what is Gabriel exactly?
Because he gives her a ring at this point.
Oh, yeah, I can't remember why.
He rings her while she's in the toilet, so her phone goes, and he goes,
yeah,
all right, it's Gabriel. And he goes, I don't remember. He's like, oh, fuck's sake, why does nobody remember me? Oh, it's me. Well, she doesn't know it's called Gabriel right now. She goes, oh, we're mates, you and I, but you've forgotten me. She goes, I ain't forgotten you. I never remembered you to forget you in the first place. It's like, oh, if you don't remember me, then I will I'll buddy get the people you love. And then she just blurts out, piss off, Gabriel. And he goes, you do remember me, proved I'm important. Well, see you later. And then he hangs up.
Yeah.
Just keep him wanting more. That's what he's done there. Just keep him wanting more. So her and her sister go to visit her mum, Jeanne. Is that her name? Jean? Oh, Jean. Maybe Jean. Let's call her Jean.
Goes to visit Jean. More.
She's immediately like, you didn't have any mad shit happening to you when you were a kid. And then she goes, what about the name Gabriel? And that's
what you say.
And she goes, actually, I won't.
Somewhere the sound designer with that keyboard is and
that's me done for the day.
Yeah. Another day. Another job done fine.
Yeah, another day. One. Yeah, that's it. We've used quite a lot of this limited horror budget on Gabriel, so I can only afford one note for this bit. Don't you worry. Don't worry, James. I got
that note, James. You want that note or the Pixies? Note or Pixies? Yeah, we'll go with the Pixies this time. Sure.
Yeah. So
what I love is that she can't explain. So I tell you what. Rather than explain Gabriel to you with my words, so happens that I've got a VCR set up in the house as we speak. It's all wired in perfectly, and I've got a video of some of the times he came up on. This is proof positive that there's no point filming the events of your children because you will never watch them back. So they've only watched this one back now that she's come investigating a murder. They haven't been reminiscing over Gabriel all this other time.
Yeah. So in the video, she's young and she's talked to an imaginary friend called Gabriel. She even has a little toy telephone and she's like, hello, Gabriel. Hello, who's this? But it all seems like kind of fake. And then I think she remembers the point where Gabriel was telling her to do dark things and was telling her to cut the cake. And then it was actually a vision, and she was about to cut her mum's
her unborn sister out of her mother's stomach.
Yeah, because the mum's pregnant, and we have a couple of. For some reason, they put this video as a compilation. Because there's one bit where she's first pregnant, and she's on the phone. She's on like a Sesame Street phone, going, "No, Gabriel, no, piss off. No, put Grover back on. He's a lot more positive than you." Yeah, and he's and then it's the dad video. What are you talking to? I told you, Gabriel. And then we have this bit where he goes, "Oh, what have you've ruined your mum's cake?" And then he doesn't like the fact that she's gonna have a baby, the mom. But yeah, that's a good way for them to look at to do the exposition in a more interesting way than just telling them. Fine.
So they get like a hypnotherapist involved.
Yeah, as we know from Life Force, being hypnosis questions are just basically having your eyes closed, where someone asks you questions vaguely in a wispy voice, and then you can give vague descriptions back. Oh, this where is that where we see the bit with the cake? Does she remember that one? Because obviously they weren't camcordering that precious family moment.
Yeah, so I think obviously the camcorded moment is the birthday party and other bits, but then other memories come out during this session with the hypnotherapist, where she recalls. She's basically she's like, I can't remember anything from before I was 8, but in this she does remember, and she remembers that her birth name is Emily May, and that she was in this. Do we see that she was in this sort of psychiatric unit place?
That's to come, I think, because while this is happening with these guys, and we've done this hypnotherapy and so on, and then she's having nightmares about that. The detective then gets another clue, just like drop in his lap, like someone else shows him a picture and says, "Oh, here's the third person that worked here in this picture," and he's on his own when he sees his picture and goes, "Oh, fuck's sake, this third doctor, I better get to his house," and he runs over there, but he arrives. We don't even see this murder; it happens off screen, right?
Yeah, he's all just beaten up and bloody in the bath.
Why was Madison not forced to watch that one?
She was. She's there at the side of the bathroom, and then she's still there when the detective turns up.
That's right. Yeah,
and she's like, "Bloody hell, mate! There's a Gabriel still here." We can't hear her because she's in the ghost.
This is the point where I kind of twigged onto what was going on.
Yeah, I was like, first I was like, "Oh, okay." First, it was like, right, Gabriel's a drop dead Fred, but then I was like, "Oh, actually, I know."
So this is one of the longest, most overblown chase sequences, maybe since 7. Do you remember the chase sequence in 7, which just goes on and on and on? You're like, they've ran through the whole city at this point. So it goes from like street level down into the underground Seattle area. Then there's sort of like a fight.
The misty basement where he fights him.
Where he fights him. And at this point, I was like, right, something's not right, because it looks like he's running backwards.
Yeah.
I think everyone kind of twigged on that something was a bit odd. And even at this point, I think I was still like, maybe deformed in some way or something. Yeah. I don't think I'd fully engaged with exactly what the crux of the matter was.
I think, I mean, when you're making this kind of mystery, I can only imagine that it's so difficult to know how much information you're giving away is the correct amount to keep the mystery going, or how you don't want to give it away too easy, you don't want to make it too difficult for people to figure out. But I think that aspect of the film is actually really well done. Like keeping people not quite sure what's going on until really quite far into the movie is quite good. If that mystery wasn't there, it would have been a much more boring movie.
Yeah. As I said, if it was strictly supernatural, I think I would have been very disappointed. I mean, I wasn't anticipating any sort of twist. I was anticipating, answers, but I wasn't anticipating a twist. But so does this chase sequence happen? When does the person fall through the ceiling?
That's coming up right now. So Gabriel fights with the detective. He's escaped. Then I think maybe we're slightly out of order. I wasn't taking notes in cinema, but like watching, like, I think maybe then we have the hypnosis afterwards, because that's in her house. That's right. So they have the hypnosis in her house, and she remembers about the time that Gabriel almost got her to chop her mom's tongue when she was having a baby. She said, "Oh, we'll give your mom a nice surprise," and then it was like, "Gabriel, this is in no way a nice surprise, idiot." Yeah. And then I think that's when they realized that he didn't want her to have the baby, because then she wouldn't need him around anymore. And meanwhile, we go back to see the lady who was captured in the underground Seattle. Made a note here saying, "Woman who is clearly the real mom escapes." But no sooner she escapes, she just falls through the ceiling.
She falls through the ceiling directly into the middle of the hypnotherapy. It was not the I think it's kind of like over the hypnotherapy session.
The hypnotherapy, they're just having a bit of a post-hypnotherapy debrief, because we know from Life Force sometimes you're a bit tired after some hypnotherapy. So you have to have a little bit of a sit down. But then it's literally the biggest surprise ever when this woman just falls through the ceiling, like game over, through the.
I did not see that coming for a second.
No, I didn't.
No.
And all of the killer's things are there though, like the sword thing she's using, the coat, the gloves. So the clues are all there. And at this point, the detective, not sure the other one, was like almost convinced that it was her anyway.
Well, yeah, she was kind of thinking it was her throughout, and now she's like, "That's it, we got her." So yeah. So they basically reveal. So even at this stage, in terms of the film, you're supposed to believe that Gabriel's just been living in the attic of her house.
Yeah. And we find out this because he starts in their interrogator, and then who should ring but Gabriel?
Yeah.
Perfect alibi. The perfect alibi.
And they put him on speaker. Gabriel, you're on speaker to the detectives, and he goes, "Oh yeah, silly bitch, didn't know I was in her house." It's like, "All right, you're not Freddy Krueger, what's your language, Gabriel?" And he's like, "Yeah, what do you want to do then?" And then what is his actual goal? Oh, he says he wants his stuff back. That's what he wants. He goes,
give me back my face. Yeah.
Yeah, he wants his jacket. He wants his stabby medical trophy. He's grown fond of it in the day or so he's had it.
I mean, it is a great looking weapon, isn't it? It's quite an iconic looking weapon.
Yeah. He wants again.
I had a quick Google. Yeah, it's called like the Caduceus or something. It's Hermes, who was like the god of like traveling fast and also healing or something like that. Like he had that, he used to carry that around for some reason. Not entirely sure what it did, but it's quite cool to use that as a weapon of hurting people. I wonder where they got that idea from. I guess it's like maybe just because you normally associate that with healing. It's like a cancerous sort of thing.
Well, this is why only trained medical professionals should have them. Gabriel, he's not qualified. That's why he's hurting people with it.
Yeah,
he's no good.
He's definitely not qualified.
Meanwhile, the sister she goes to look for some lovely clues, and she goes to the creepy house on Haunted Hill Asylum, which has not been redeveloped into flats.
She parks on the edge of the cliff.
Yeah,
I was like, whoa, that's dangerous.
Yeah,
should not be doing that.
Also, I don't believe that anyone would be going into that hospital. Like, it's pitch black. It's like
there's literally wheelchairs everywhere.
It's not particularly locked. No one has turned that into high-end like sea view apartments in the 20 odd years it's been closed.
Yeah,
30 odd years at this point.
I don't believe in ghosts. I would be convinced there were ghosts in there, like walking through. It was so spooky. So she has to go to the basement as well.
So she goes
to
the basement.
To an abandoned hospital once. It was lots of fun. It was a place in Tamworth. It had closed down, and there was one security guard in there, but he couldn't catch us. And my friends were like climbing up the elevator. Probably incredibly dangerous. We were a public safety video waiting to happen. They're climbing up the lift shafts in there. And there was a time where we had a lightsaber fight with some all fluorescent tubes. They weren't on, but they did half explode. But there were no Gabriels in there, so it was all right. But sorry, Ben, I interrupted you with this wild sidetrack.
I mean, all I was going to say is that she finds finds the files in the basement, which are basically used to just fill in the blanks of the story up to this point, strictly for that reason.
You're right, Ben. She finds those videotapes and goes, "Oh, if only I knew someone who had a VCR set up." Right, hang on a minute. Back to her mum's house. And we get to see that Gabriel was an absorbed twin. The hospital administrators are described as, and I quote, lying cockknockers. And this is where we learn that Gabriel is just a wee little skeleton boy that was attached to her back.
So Gabriel is like a parasitic teratoma, like a super extreme version of a teratoma, not anything like a teratoma in real life, which is just like a tumor made up of hair, muscle, teeth, or bone, or like all of that stuff. The fact that he's almost like he is a living version of that on her back, like a conjoined twin, but on her back and sharing the same brain as well.
Yeah.
And with the common ability of being able to broadcast his thoughts.
Yeah, and
it's not notable.
It's kind of super strength as well.
Yeah,
super agility. If you're going to use that,
it's almost like when Gabriel takes over and controls Emily's body, just uses Emily's body in a different way. Emily, aka Madison, in a different way, sort of like unlocking the potential of her body, essentially, which we've seen in various.
He's using his brain powers to do that, and this is what we learn at the end of the medical video, that because they've had they've had it up to here. I'm pointing to just above my eyes with Gabriel. They decided to cut the cancer out, but then they realized that they can't do it without killing Madison completely.
Shove the face into the skull.
So they cut most of him off. They cut most of him off and then just shove the rest of him into her skull. And then, again, this doesn't quite work because it says that he was awoken by that bad old boyfriend, Derek, smashing her head into the wall. That woke him up, right? But he'd also been growing stronger and more powerful by absorbing her babies. So that's why she had loads of miscarriages. So he was obviously already up to something before that.
He was powering up, basically, the way you talk about Dragon Ball Z. Spending ages powering up. That's what he's been doing.
He was inside her body all that time.
Can you hear something?
So, I guess he's been powering up, but it was the act of getting her head kicked in that allowed him to come out of the skull. Finally, he was like, "Oh, I'm really powerful, but I can't get out of this bloody skull. I'm finally out."
Yeah, and we reveal this. The sister phones and tells the detective this, but for some reason, some clerical error, they've thrown this suspect in a murder into like the drunk tank. With those stereotypical just rough women from different spaces in different eras of history, because there's like a 70s disco lady, and then there's like Honey Boo Boo's mom is in
angry
there.
School teacher.
There's
it's like if this was like an all women Tekken. Like these would be the characters you could select.
One's got a jaguar head. One's got a leopard head. Yeah.
Pat Butcher's in there. And you're right. There's this big mix, and then basically she's made a mistake. She has been accused of murder, but for some reason she becomes the most like middle class white woman in the world when she's put in there. It's like, excuse me, there's been a terrible mistake. It looks like she's been.
So everyone takes an immediate dislike to her, and obviously they start, bullying her essentially.
Yeah, they go.
Alongside this reveal,
You could just say at this point, like, you're not at no point in this movie have you been portrayed as a stupid character. So you would just say, like, if they'd come up and say, "Oh, what's up with you, sweetheart?" Like, you said, "No, actually, I've been arrested for loads of really violent murders." So back the fuck off. Otherwise, I'm gonna Gabriel you.
I'm gonna Gabriel. So now things are starting to make sense. We're kind of working out what's happened, but at the same moment that the audience is kind of understanding, we're given a visual cue to really hammer it home. And it goes, I don't know. What does it go? What can we say?
It reminds me of like Terminator or something. Like
this is the turning point of the film,
Upgrade.
guys, if anyone hasn't asked.
Yeah.
She's getting beaten up by these guys, and then she starts thrashing around. The lady, for those on video, who's in my background here, they go, "Oh, bitch is having a seizure," and then the back of her head opens up. Gabriel pops out. He flips the hair around the other way, and her face becomes like a sort of mask on the back of his head now. Yeah, and then uses backwards boy fighting powers to annihilate this.
But he does, like, he twists her limbs in a way where, like, he's now in control of them, and he does sort of bend them in a weird sort of way. And it's
I like how he pulls his face out, like he kind of separates the skull a bit to allow his face to poke out a bit.
It's a bit more like wiggle room.
Can't be a way to live. Can't be a good way to live.
Here's Johnny his way out of there now. He's like, oh.
I mean, he's like kung fu master, like drunken master. It's insane how good he is at fighting.
Yeah, and literally, he's agile, strong, and he's literally snapping necks and heads. He kills every woman in this.
He does the whole, punch through a person's stomach move. That's always quite effective in a fight.
He punches through, and his arm is out the other side.
Yeah. I mean, bicep. How does that even work? The biceps are on the other side. I don't know how you get. Well, it doesn't make sense. Doesn't have to make sense at this point.
How's he got so good at fighting? He's been training. He's been taking
his mind
control.
Yeah, and then
he's taking control of her body, and then he's got a gym membership, and he's walked in, and he's like, "Oh fuck."
Yeah,
maybe that's what he's been doing. Like, because as we established, that he can send her to the quiet place or the faraway zone or whatever else and take over her body. Maybe he's been watching all that UFC that the boyfriend used to have on telly.
Well, it's just been on YouTube. You can get into the computers, can't he?
Yeah.
He's just been downloading.
He's absorbed all the information.
He's been watching the entire moveset of Tekken 3. And he knows all the characters he's seen in there. He's like, "Oh, I'm a king. I know how to beat you. Put an arm through him."
So
I mean, it is mad. It turns into like a crazy action movie.
It reminds me of like those old school action monster movies where they'd always sort of end up in the police station and annihilate everyone.
Yeah. Kills every policeman in Seattle mostly because the first guard decides to stand right against the bars while he's trying to shoot him ineffectively.
Yeah. There's a fun little bit. So he goes and gets his equipment, his like knife and coat and stuff from the
suiting up scene was pretty cool. I like that.
I thought he was going to kill the CSI woman because that would have resolved that. That would have made the love triangle a little bit simpler. But no, she gets away.
Yeah. So she starts scrapping with the detectives, Kay and the other one, and they're having a good scrap. And it looks like they've been injured, but they're gonna get away with it. And then Gabriel lobs a chair at him from across the.
Yeah, that was insane.
So
lobs a chair at him and takes them both out.
He's annihilated every other policeman in the building in all of Seattle for what we've seen. But these two can beat him because he's weak against main characters.
Yeah,
because they come in and the other policemen that are doing these things are like
the most talented sketch artists in the world.
They're only sketch artists, though, unfortunately. Despite the size of some of them, they're not actual good policemen. And then these two come in. There is haven't shown themselves they're like, "Oh, you've been keeping up with your karate training." They don't mention that, otherwise they could have got away with it. But they managed to outfight him technically, and he starts.
One of them gets stabbed, right? Is it Shaw that gets stabbed?
No, I think Moss gets slashed across the tongue.
Oh yeah, that's right. He gets slashed. Yeah, that's right.
He does get stabbed a little bit later on. It impales him in the shoulder.
That's right.
Yeah. So they're both a bit injured, and then as Ben says, they just literally like it feels like the fight is ending and they're sort of limping away, and he is back, and they just lobs a chair at them and takes them both out.
You know when Gabriel's in charge and he's got his coat on, and we just on the back of his head we just see like Maddie's eyes kind of closed. Do you think that the person who's wearing a costume, that's just like a little?
I reckon that's just a little face they've got glued on the back of him. Yeah,
it looks really good. I mean, it looks like a backwards person.
At this stage, it was a case of you just like watching what was happening, but also trying to make sense of everything that had come before, trying to like picture what had come before and be like, really? Did it look like that? What was going on? Like, so...
you know, as a concept, I feel like some people are like, this is the most insane concept for a horror movie thing ever. But I mean, like Stephen King did this in The Dark Half, like pretty much the exact same idea. I don't think it's that bonkers, is it?
I mean, it's a little bit like Basket Case. It's also a little bit like that episode of X-Files where that guy's got a little conjoined twin that like comes off and goes off and does some murder.
Goes off and does some murders.
Yeah. I don't think it's that bonkers, but for some reason it really has struck the internet as being the most insane concept for a horror. I just feel like it's a bit like in a time of the elevated horror concepts. This feels a little bit old, a little bit goofier, a little bit more fun, I guess.
I don't think it's even the theme that really struck me, because like it's in the notes I've gone through. Like I think I said he was the conjoined twin. That I thought he'd been cut off and he was a separate entity. I didn't nail it exactly, but I thought he was a conjoined twin from quite early on. And it isn't. I don't think it is the twist of it that really shook me, that it was always in the back of her head and he's then going to take over the body as a backwards boy. It was how the pace of the movie and how everything changed once he annihilated literally this room of about 30 people in that prison. And then it just becomes like a mad action film where they're shooting at him like it's the Matrix and he's ducking behind pillars and then just like whizzing chairs and like, you know, catching people. He's like doing like it's like Equilibrium.
Yeah.
The way he's like going through and just annihilating like wave after wave of people. It's just the way the pacing works. And then that scene is over and we're running to like, this is like the last 5 minutes now. We're running to this finale where we go to the sister is the first one to get there. And she's like, there is like some poor schmo who's outside the real mother's hospital bed. She's not dead. She's just poorly from falling through the ceiling. And he gets to say, I've got to get in there. And he goes, oh, well, I may be 3 days from retirement, but I'm not going to let you in. Oh, bit of chest pain. And of course, he's got a pacemaker that Gabriel explodes.
There we go. Classic.
Gabriel exposed. Did he come on the speakers at the hospital at this point?
I actually think he might just be talking. I wasn't sure about this because I'm sure I'm more convinced that he's talking through the speakers. But I thought I saw like a little mouth moving.
He's like, I really want to speak when there's no speakers around.
He's very
silence.
He's very lucky for a film that is set in the modern day. You know, we're assuming it's like today, 2021. He's very lucky with a volume of people that have still got digital radios in their house.
Yeah,
for him to tune into.
He lobs the gurney onto the sister.
Yeah,
and I think he's about to get her. This is an annoying sort of plot point. It's a bit easy where I think he's suddenly strong enough mentally to stop him.
Well, he gets slightly weakened because the mom who's in there, she goes, I shouldn't have really given you up, really, should I? Sols, I do love you, though. And he's like, oh, no, I'm weakened.
You little weirdo.
Yeah, I'm weakened by mother's love. And then you're right. Like, then Maddie kind of confronts him in the Mind Palace and says...
I think it's when she understands that he was feeding off the fetuses that would cause the miscarriages. She gets angry enough at that because
she powers up.
She mentions earlier that she wanted a connection with someone who was blood. So she really wanted to have a child, which was why I guess she stayed in that abusive relationship for as long as she did. But yeah, because of that, causes anger. She powers up, manages to control Gabriel, and much in the way that he had been sort of locking her in the Mind Palace. she manages to lock him in the Mind Palace. And there's a bit of a fake out here where we see him kill the mum and then him.
He kills them all, doesn't he? He wins. He kills them all. But then he goes, that didn't really happen. I'm just showing you that now you go in Mind Palace. He goes, oh no, not the Mind Palace.
Bit of a naff fake out. I wasn't particularly sold on that.
She's become powerful now, and then it's like Batman Arkham Knight, where he's put him in a mind prison, and he's like, "Oh, I'll get out someday," and he's like, I'm sure you will, but when you do, I'll be ready."
But when you do, have him, Malignant. We do when Malignant 2 comes out, all right? So just we'll see how it does at the box office.
Yeah. I'll be ready for Malignant 2. But also, now you just know that you would say, Ron, like, if I ever go a bit funny, I'm ever holding the back of my head, just remind me about the time he ate all my kids, and I'll make sure he goes in the mind prison again. And we literally get a visual of him being put in your classic jail with bars, and he's like, no. In the mind prison, and then
she's then strong enough to lift the gurney off of the sister. She's got superpowers now. And then it's like it ends with a peculiar bit of dialogue. It's something along the lines of, she talks to his sister, I always wanted to be related to someone by blood, but then I realized all these years I've had you. We're not related by blood, but I think that's okay. What was I talking about again? Anyway, it's really convoluted and just goes over and over.
I've been through a lot, all right? I mean, that was a shit final line, but I've been through a lot. Please forgive me.
And then a light bulb buzzes, and it's like, oh, maybe Gabriel's still about with his unexplained electrical powers. And
that's Malignant.
That is Malignant.
There we go.
And then I think we get another instance of the Pixies playing at the end, like dubstep Pixies.
Yeah.
I mean, this film may as well have been called Orange, with how hard it was to make a name game for it.
Oh, I've got a couple for you, Luke. If you run short, I've come up with 3, but you might have them, so I'm not sure how many we're going to have.
I mean, I've had to stretch what you could call the English language a little bit.
What? That's not like you. You never ever do that in this game. All right, ever.
If you think I've done it before.
Oh wait, can we just have a look at your
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Can we just have a look at your background?
Oh yeah, we had to save this for spoilers.
Yeah,
it's Gabriel.
If you listen on audio, it's basically Luke's version of what he would look like if he had a Gabriel, which is pretty scary, to be fair. I think we can make out a face in the folds of the back of your head there.
The evil Soon on the back of the head there. Okay, so the first one, Madison is paralyzed by shocking visions of people giving birth, and her torment worsens as she discovers that she's in fact she's with child. Also, she's from Texas.
Ma pregnant.
I'm pregnant. Malignant. I'm pregnant.
Oh my!
From Glasgow.
I'm pregnant.
What on earth? I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant, fool. Oh my god.
It's a good accent.
That is. I mean, you've definitely taken some liberties before.
That's the first one. That's the first one. Number 2. Madison is paralyzed by shocking visions of pigs, and her torment worsens as she discovers that one of these pigs has an auntie.
My pig aunt.
My pig aunt. What the fuck? Is it
my... What are we going for?
My pig aunt?
Close. A pig and aunt. A pig and aunt. A pig and aunt.
Yeah. A pig and aunt. Wow.
Next one's a bit easier. A bit more normal. A bit more real.
Nah, not interested.
Madison is paralyzed by shocking visions of lots of tools and apparatus designed to fulfill certain requirements. So like tools and stuff that you have to fulfill certain tasks.
Tools.
Could be screwdriver, or it could be PPE.
My tool belt.
I mean, you have to. I mean, It doesn't really rhyme with malignant.
My equipment.
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 If you say it correctly, equipment.
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 Yeah.
Equipment.
Okay, next one. Madison is paralyzed by shocking visions of a UPS parcel that hasn't been delivered. A UPS parcel that hasn't been delivered.
Hasn't been delivered.
She shipped it, and it has. She shipped the package, but it hasn't been delivered.
Is it my?
No.
Shipped it but not delivered.
Something not.
Well, it doesn't matter. It could be delivered. Don't worry about that aspect of it.
It could be delivered.
It's just something. It's a.
Oh, shipment.
Yeah.
The shipment.
The shipment.
I put the shipment.
The shipment.
Why is everyone talking like this in this name game? Why is everybody like a little bit of a slack-jawed redneck?
Oh, it's because it's that little sound. I didn't believe it. We haven't hit any of the words I had yet. I might have a couple for you.
I'm not even too sure I've hit words.
This is insane.
Next one is Madison is paralyzed by realizing that the great psychoanalyst signs it. Madison is paralyzed when she realizes that this great psychoanalyst signs his letters this way. Big famous psychoanalyst, and he signs his letters this way.
Sigmund
Freud. I keep just thinking my something.
Yeah.
He signs his letters. His books could be anything. Written.
Sigmund's signature.
It's written by.
I don't know. I think my brain's ceased to work.
Yeah, Gabriel's taken over. By Sigmund.
By Sigmund.
Oh, see, it's too easy. Like I said last week, thinking too much. You threw me off with the first few.
So we had I'm pregnant, equipment, the shipment by Sigmund.
I mean,
I thought it was difficult with this.
Somehow, Luke, you didn't hit anything. Would you like to play if I throw you a couple that I have? We'll give Ben a moment to come up.
First of all, I must applaud that because it started off as being absolutely nuts, but I think
I think they were good. They were good.
Pretty good.
All right, I got a couple for you, Luke, if you're ready, and then Ben can see if he can come up with anything off the cuff.
Ready.
So, a woman called Madison is traumatized when she has an imaginary friend, but this imaginary friend is an Egyptian god. But he's imaginary, he's not real.
Well, like Figment, I was gonna say.
Yeah. So what is the Figment?
Egyptian Figment?
Throw out all the Egyptian gods you know.
Ra Figment.
Ra Figment, correct. My next one. Madison is terrorized by a cancerous baby growth that was once attached to her head, except its powers, instead of controlling electricity, is that it can change the color of Ford hatchbacks. Car pigment, correct.
Oh wow! That
I think I was going to use.
How did your brain process that so quickly?
Car pigment.
Are you a Gabriel?
And the last one I have is that a completely unconnected from anyone called Madison, a man in Kentucky shouts in pain when he has a muscular problem while running when something snaps in his leg.
So something fractures, something breaks.
It's a muscular problem, not a bone.
Sorry.
The bone's actually fine.
Oh, it's obviously like ma.
Yeah,
Kentucky.
Yeah,
ligaments.
Yeah, ligaments. Correct.
Ligaments.
That's good. That's almost spot on.
I got there.
Oh, but that was all I had. I
could have
stretched to 5 if you'd paid me.
I mean, I've definitely not got any, I'm afraid, guys.
Surely there are loads more, Ben. Come on.
I mean, I don't know if I can just the sheer level of, I can't even put a sentence together, let alone think of another one. Madness. But
So we
good
need to
madness.
rate the film.
Almost like this film. That name game was just as chaotic as this film.
Yeah.
There we go.
I have no idea. I think my rating is pretty much dependent on if James Wan was self-aware with some of the choices or not. And I don't think he was. So
never gonna know.
But maybe that makes it even better. Like, this is strange guy making a strange film and not realizing how strange it was. I don't know. It's an interesting one. I mean, so some people are saying, they love it because it's got the Giallo influences, which I think just means it's got some lighting and a killer with some black gloves on.
It's got some lighting.
I don't know. Andy, you go first. What are you going to go for?
Oh man, now I'm on the spot. Right, I see what you're saying, Luke. Like, I think if he did this on purpose, then it's fine. And I do kind of want to see it again. I'm not sure I'd watch the whole film again. I'd just watch that scene again.
Yeah.
But I am thinking of the overall experience watching it. I did think that several parts of it were of lower quality than I would expect from this director and the team behind him. And until that bit, the ending managed to land it a little bit, certainly from a visual and an action point of view. But you've not been doing any good tricks while you're in the air before you stuck the landing. Like, it's been just flying through the air, flipping us all the bird.
Yeah.
Until you landed. So I will boost it for the ending, but I'm going to spit out a C, I think. Just a flat one. And it's because of that ending that it comes up from being towards more of a negative mark, I think.
Yeah.
I can't say fairer than that.
I was thinking about it. Like, if a guy walks into a party and he's wearing like a ridiculous hat and everyone's like, oh, what is he? Why would you wear that hat? And he goes, no, I'm wearing it ironically. Like, it changes it's like, oh, I get it. It's just a stupid hat anyway. Like, it changes the relationship to the thing. So I do wonder, like, if James, I mean, through the interviews I've read to try and gauge how he feels about it, I don't think he's any of the wiser that some of this dialogue is awful. That, like, some of the stings and the fake jump scares and stuff are awful. Like,
absolutely dreadful. Yeah.
Really bad. Like, to the point, like, I was 40 minutes in, I was like, this is one of the worst movies I've seen in a long time. But then I had a load of fun, and I would like to invite Kat or other people to watch it as well, because I think for the twist and the shocking nature of the killer stuff, that is quite fun. It's really fun, actually. So I'm between a D- and probably a C. Like, I'm between the two, like, fluctuating, not like I'm in the middle. I'm fluctuating constantly.
C minus if he meant it. C if he meant it. D- if he didn't.
No, I'm gonna go with. I'll go with C minus. I'll try and average it out. C minus. I don't know. I'd be so interested to hear more of James Wan talking about it.
Maybe I've been too generous now. Like,
well, if you're gonna, did you just go for a straight C?
I went straight C. Luke's gone C minus.
Okay, I might go for a C plus. So maybe even more than you, just because I know I said it redeemed itself with that. This may be one where if I watch it again, I might not be as fond of it. I think because I was struggling throughout, and that was such a welcome shock the way it went, and how I felt afterwards. Like, I wanted to talk to people about it. I wanted to know people's reactions. I wanted to read people talking about it, even though the whole length of the film, the whole duration of the film wasn't great. It wasn't great. I just feel like that the way that finale made me feel, and the way it stuck with me after that, and it made me see it in a completely different light than what I don't know. 80 minutes of it, I wasn't particularly into. The last 20 minutes to 30 minutes, I was into. I appreciate that because it's the kind of cinematic experience. I can't remember the last time I had a cinematic experience like that with like a horror movie, I guess. A horror movie of this sort of genre, I guess, which was like, it was kind of like a supernatural thriller, ghost story, haunted house type thing. The fact that it turned out not to be that at all, I think was quite. And as I said, by the time it finished, it reminded me of like things like the X-Files. So, I think for that, what were you going to say, Luke? Sorry,
I was just going to say, I don't think you kind of mentioned the design and the look of Gabriel is kind of fantastic. Like, I don't think I'll forget that anytime soon. You know, when he's fully revealed in his backwards form and his face is poking out. That's a great little horror moment that I.
Will we have Gabriel's this Halloween?
I hope so.
People walking backwards
with like a little face on your own face, because you're gonna have to walk. You can't snap your own joints. So,
well, some people might go above and beyond. But yeah, it's very, very bizarre, and you know, I love it when films literally make you go, "What the hell is happening?"
Yeah.
No matter how terrible they turn out to be. So I think for that, I'd like to give it a bit of kudos and probably go for a C+, just because it was unexpected. And James Wan movies, Conjuring movies, I quite like, but anything else like Insidious and that, I'm a bit like, oh, it's the same old crap. And sorry, not crap, but you know, it's the same old sort of thing. And the fact that we're seeing another one of these, or another potential franchise from James Wan with the same sort of thing, the fact that it just completely averted that, I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
So there you go. I think between us, that's a fair shake.
Fair analysis.
I just feel like I love it when people swing for the fences, but at the same time, the bad things, it didn't need to be as bad as that. Like,
no,
it felt kind of sloppy.
Yeah, there was nothing. I don't think the things that I didn't enjoy about it, it was nothing about what you spent money on or what the effects were like. Like, I think that's part of the frustrating bit, but certainly the early part of the movie, is that the things that I didn't enjoy were things you could just do with looking at the writing a little bit more and just the way that the dialogue was delivered, or, with the thing like maybe they've come up with some kind of psychic link. I know that like hanging a lantern on it doesn't make it not bad. That they're like, oh, I know that's a crazy thing to say, but like, if you could have just found a way to like introduce that a little bit more organically, or just change the way the cops were doing the banter, and I don't know, like just little tonal things like that would have made it go one way or the other.
I think one way of describing it is that it's a very, very stupid film, but it's enjoyable. It's stupid, but it's enjoyable. Like, I came out of it like not exhilarated, but I came out of it being like, "Whoa, that was."
You came out of it backwards. You've turned your camera, stormed out, flipped a gurney, and then went home.
When the film was done, and everyone in the cinema kind of looked up, and there's a moment where we all kind of looked at each other like, "What have we experienced together?" But like coming out of this, compared to how me and my friends felt coming out of Candyman, we were like energized, like, what was that? It's insane. Like, we were excited, like, because it was just mental. What? And there's so much to talk about and sort of digest of it. But yeah, that was interesting one.
That was Malignant. And what's next week?
I don't know.
Rocky Horror?
Rocky Horror Picture Show, yeah. So first musical. First horror musical that we've ever done. And I've never seen it. So first time for me.
Seen it.
Oh, you not either, Luke?
Yeah, sorry. I've only seen it once, long time ago. I listened to the soundtrack a lot, I think.
Yeah. Karen has suggested that we should dress up for it, but I'm not sure I've got the right shades for the episode.
I mean, what will literally be happening is that if we dress up, Luke will just be in his garage, dressed up like that. And I think, Luke, you have to leave the garage to get to the house, right?
Yeah.
There will be a moment when he emerges from his garage, and there's a street party happening or something. There's a street party happening, and yeah. But
we'll go into it. If we don't dress up for the episode, I will dig out the pictures for when we did do it, when we went to see it on stage.
I would like to see that. Yeah,
we saw it in Birmingham. We went to into town afterwards, and a guy came up to me and said, "Oh, fair play for dressing up like that, mate. You've got some real balls. Yeah, you can pretty much see them in this get up, mate." But yeah, it's a fun movie. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting week next week.
Looking forward to it. Nice one.
Cool. All right, guys. Wait to the end of it. Thanks for listening. I'm bamboozled by the film. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, you can become a patron over at patreon.com/Hawk and Cleaver. Thanks to Kovac Cowman for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Thanks to the listeners. If you enjoyed the show, you can leave a rating or review in iTunes and we will read it out in the show. Or you can go to Facebook and search for Horror Hangout Board of Advisors to join the Facebook group. Thanks for listening. And thanks to my co-hosts, Ben and Andy, for being right horror dudes.
Thanks, dudes.
Thank you very much, Luke. Bye for now, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.